North by Northwest wasn't just a spy thriller, it was a cinematic illusion of control that spiraled into chaos. Every frame looks elegant and calculated, but behind the camera, Alfred Hitchcock was wrestling with government restrictions, fake identities, uncooperative landmarks, and a lead actor who was almost replaced. From Mount Rushmore bans to MGM's secret lawsuits, this movie hid danger in every direction. Today, we uncover 20 weird facts about North by Northwest and the twisted stories that made it a masterpiece of deception. Let's run. Number 20. The government nearly banned Hitchcock from filming on Mount Rushmore. The National Park Service was furious when they learned the script involved murder on a national monument. They demanded that no violence, no climbing, and no physical damage could occur on the faces of the presidents. Hitchcock agreed on paper, but he secretly filmed inside the visitor center and recreated the entire monument on MGM's backlot. When officials discovered the deception, they banned him from ever filming there again. What audiences see in the final chase isn't the real Rushmore at all, but a massive studio replica built from plaster and matte paintings. The illusion was so convincing that even Park Service workers later admitted they couldn't tell which shots were fake. Number 19. Cary Grant had no idea what the film was about while shooting it. Hitchcock refused to share the full script and only handed Grant partial pages the night before filming. The actor complained that every scene made less sense than the last, but Hitchcock just smiled and said that confusion was the point. Grant later joked that he only understood the plot halfway through the premiere. Ironically, that confusion mirrored his character Roger Thornhill, who is constantly mistaken for a man who doesn't exist. The production crew started calling Grant the real George Kaplan after the fake agent in the story. It wasn't acting, it was genuine disorientation turned into art. Number 18. The crop duster sequence almost killed a stunt pilot. Hitchcock wanted absolute realism, so the plane really flew just a few feet above Cary Grant in the barren California desert. The stunt pilot miscalculated the wind and nearly clipped Grant's head during one pass, missing him by less than 4 feet. Grant dove face first into the dirt as the camera kept rolling. The resulting shot was so perfect, Hitchcock used it as is. No green screen, no models, just raw fear and sand flying into Grant's suit. Even decades later, the scene remains one of the most dangerous ever attempted without visual effects. Number 17. Ava Marie Saint wasn't Hitchcock's first choice. The director originally wanted Grace Kelly, but she had become Princess of Monaco and refused to return to Hollywood. MGM pushed for Sid Charisse, but Hitchcock fought for a colder, more enigmatic presence. He spotted Saint's subtle performance in On the Waterfront and cast her without a yayo screen test. On set, Hitchcock ordered her to act against her instincts. He told her to underplay every emotion to create what he called the Ice Woman effect. It worked so well that critics accused her of being robotic, but Saint later revealed that Hitchcock's direction was so precise that even her breathing was choreographed. Number 16. The iconic auction house scene wasn't in the original script. Hitchcock improvised it after realizing he needed a clever way for Thornhill to escape without gunfire. During filming, Grant suggested that his character deliberately make a fool of himself to get arrested. Hitchcock loved the idea. They shot the entire sequence in one day with real extras who had no idea what was happening. Many believed they were attending an actual art auction until Grant started yelling outrageous bids. The crowd's confusion became genuine laughter, and that spontaneous energy turned the scene into one of the film's most memorable escapes. Number 15. The script for North by Northwest was written in a frenzy of improvisation. Screenwriter Ernest Lehman had never worked with Hitchcock before and initially thought he was hired to write something simple. Instead, Hitchcock told him he wanted to make the ultimate Hitchcock movie with every signature element. Mistaken identity, glamorous blonde, deadly chase, and a final cliffhanger. But there was no plot, no outline, and no villain. Lehman wrote scenes backwards, starting from the idea of a man hanging off Mount Rushmore and inventing everything else later. He admitted that he often had no clue where the story was going. Hitchcock encouraged this chaos because he believed confusion led to creativity. What emerged was not a traditional screenplay, but a chain of set pieces strung together by paranoia. It was pure cinema, born out of structured madness and instinctive brilliance. Number 14. Cary Grant earned a staggering salary for his role, and he did it in the most cunning way possible. Instead of a flat fee, he negotiated a percentage of the film's profits. MGM agreed, thinking the movie would perform modestly like other thrillers of the era. When North by Northwest became a box office phenomenon, Grant's deal made him one of the highest-paid actors of the 1950s. Reports later revealed that he earned close to $400,000, an astronomical figure at the time. Grant once joked that every time the plane chased him across the field, he was running toward a fortune. The success proved that his quiet business intelligence matched his screen charisma. Behind the tailored suits and calm demeanor, he was one of the sharpest negotiators in Hollywood. Number 13. The United Nations banned Hitchcock from filming inside its building. When the director requested permission, the UN Secretary-General refused, citing fears of political embarrassment. Hitchcock didn't care. He stationed hidden cameras across the street in parked vans and filmed Cary Grant entering the building without permission. Inside shots were faked later at MGM using photographs as reference. The bold move infuriated officials, but also fascinated audiences. They believed they were seeing real diplomatic interiors at a time when the UN was wrapped in Cold War secrecy. The sequence became a cinematic coup, an unauthorized infiltration that mirrored the movie's themes of espionage and mistaken identity. Hitchcock once bragged that he had outsmarted the entire United Nations with nothing more than a telephoto lens and a stolen moment of reality. Number 12. Eva Marie Saint's seductive train scene shocked censors. In 1959, film codes forbade explicit intimacy, but Hitchcock was determined to push limits. The kiss between Saint and Grant lasted an unheard-of 2 minutes, broken into fragments to slip past the Production Code Administration. Hitchcock deliberately framed their embrace between cuts of a rushing train entering a tunnel, creating one of cinema's boldest metaphors for desire. When censors protested, he defended it as artistic symbolism. The audience understood the subtext instantly, and critics hailed the scene as a triumph of subtle eroticism. It wasn't what was shown, but what was suggested, that made it legendary. To this day, film historians call it the most daring romantic moment Hitchcock ever created. It was sex disguised as suspense and elegance, masking provocation. Number 11. The film's title had no clear meaning even to its creators. Ernest Lehman swore it was a placeholder that stuck because no one could think of anything better. Hitchcock jokingly told reporters that it referred to a compass direction that led nowhere, symbolizing the hero's confusion. Others claimed it referenced Shakespeare's Hamlet line where madness comes from north-northwest. The ambiguity became part of the movie's mystique. It wasn't a spy code or a government project. It was pure abstraction meant to disorient. MGM's marketing team hated it, but Hitchcock refused to change it. He believed mystery began before the opening credits. The title itself was a trick one that led audiences in circles, just like the plot. It remains one of the few movie titles in history whose meaning was never truly explained by its creators. Number 10. The train scene where Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint flirt in the dining car was an improvisational battlefield of wit and censorship. Hitchcock wanted sexual tension without a single physical act. Every line of dialogue was layered with hidden meaning. When Grant says he never discusses love on an empty stomach, Saint's slow smile and the close framing created more chemistry than any kiss. During shooting, the crew struggled to hold back laughter because Hitchcock kept ordering tighter angles with every take. The dining car was actually a small set that overheated under heavy studio lights, forcing Grant to wipe sweat between lines while maintaining his calm charm. The result was cinematic electricity, a bâtie conversation that became more dangerous than gunfire. Hitchcock later admitted it was his favorite form of violence, words disguised as foreplay. Go ahead and like and subscribe because the next facts reveal how Hitchcock turned paranoia into visual poetry and nearly broke Hollywood's most powerful studio in the process. Number 9. Hitchcock and MGM executives nearly went to war over the film's ending. The studio wanted a dramatic shootout, but Hitchcock insisted on a single cut from the hero hanging off a cliff to him pulling Eva Marie Saint into a train bed. The jump from peril to intimacy broke every rule of editing. MGM executives accused him of ruining suspense, but Hitchcock refused to change it. He called it the most satisfying cut of his career because it transformed danger into triumph in a single second. When the film premiered, audiences gasped and then laughed. It was a release of tension that few directors had ever mastered. What looked like a romantic punchline was actually a rebellion against studio control, a visual signature that said Hitchcock alone decided how the story ended. Number 8. Hitchcock's obsession with detail reached surreal levels. During production, he dictated the color of every wall tie and lipstick shade. He personally approved the gray suit worn by Cary Grant, a mid-tone blend chosen so it would never clash with the desert sand or Mount Rushmore rock. The same suit appears in nearly every scene and never wrinkles, even after explosions and chases. It became one of the most famous suits in movie history. Taylor, Kilgore, French, and Stanbury made 6 identical versions, but Grant preferred one and wore it continuously. It was cleaned nightly by a private valet. That immaculate look wasn't vanity. It was Hitchcock's armor of control. In a movie about chaoses, the hero's perfect suit became a visual metaphor for composure under pressure. It was elegance fighting panic, one thread at a time. Number 7. The airplane in the crop duster scene wasn't originally meant to attack. Early drafts had the hero chased by a combine harvester until Hitchcock decided machinery lacked personality. He replaced it with a crop duster, an everyday plane that suddenly became an instrument of death. The desert location near Wasco, California, was chosen for its emptiness because Hitchcock wanted nowhere to hide. Grant spent 2 days running in 100-degree heat while the plane buzzed overhead. Locals watched from afar, thinking a real man was being hunted. Every roar of the engine was genuine, no music, no sound effects, just mechanical menace. Hitchcock said the scene's horror came from reversing expectations, killing a man not in the shadows, but under the open sky. It turned daylight into terror and silence into suspense. Number 6. James Mason, who played the villain Philip Van Damme, nearly walked off set after an argument about his character's motivation. Hitchcock kept his actors in the dark, insisting mystery would make them behave naturally. Mason demanded more explanation, saying he couldn't act without knowing what his character truly wanted. Hitchcock coolly replied that Van Damme's goal was simple: control and pleasure in watching others squirm. Mason found the answer chilling. From then on, he delivered his lines with cold precision, like a man performing cruelty as art. On screen, he never raises his voice, yet commands every room. That calm menace came directly from his frustration on set. Hitchcock later confessed that the argument was deliberate. He wanted Mason angry enough to freeze his emotions. It worked perfectly. Evil in North by Northwest wasn't loud. It was quietly certain. Number 5. North by Northwest nearly didn't exist at all because Alfred Hitchcock's previous film Vertigo had been a commercial failure. Studio executives lost faith in him, and doubted audiences wanted another mystery driven by mistaken identity. Hitchcock struck back with confidence. He told MGM he would deliver something lighter, faster, and more profitable than Vertigo ever was. But behind that promise lay tension and fear. MGM executives constantly interfered, demanding more action, less ambiguity, and a clear ending. Hitchcock ignored most of their notes, sending fake call sheets to keep them away from set. What audiences never saw was a director fighting to protect his style in a system built on committees. North by Northwest became his revenge movie, not on the screen, but behind it. It restored his reputation and reminded Hollywood who really controlled suspense. Number 4. The famous title sequence designed by Saul Bass revolutionized movie openings forever. Before 1959, credits were static and dull. Bass transformed them into kinetic storytelling using intersecting lines that morphed into a skyscraper grid. That motion wasn't random, it symbolized the confusion of modern identity. The sequence cost thousands of dollars and required experimental optical printing to sync every name with the moving background. Hitchcock was so thrilled that he extended it to match Bernard Herrmann's explosive score. The result was the first modern motion graphic opening ever seen in cinema. Bass later said he wanted viewers to feel trapped before the first line of dialogue even appeared. What began as an experiment became the blueprint for every stylish credit sequence that followed, from Bond films to Scorsese thrillers. It was design turned into storytelling power. Number 3. Bernard Herrmann's score didn't just accompany the movie, it manipulated the audience like a hypnotic machine. Herrmann refused to write a single romantic melody. Instead, he built rhythms of tension with swirling strings and brass bursts that mimicked panic attacks. Hitchcock wanted the music to sound like running away from fate itself. The composer delivered a theme that never resolved its notes, just like the hero never escapes confusion. The music was recorded in stereo at a time when most films still used monosound, and it shook theater walls across America. Hitchcock later said the score was 50% of the movie's power. Without it, the film would have felt polite. With it, every chase heartbeat and kiss pulsed like danger. The collaboration between Herrmann and Hitchcock defined the psychological sound of suspense for generations. Number 2. The film's iconic Mount Rushmore chase almost ended in disaster when production crews were accused of disrespecting the monument. Local newspapers reported that Hitchcock planned to have Cary Grant stomp across presidential noses, which infuriated politicians. Protest letters flooded MGM demanding cancellation. To calm the outrage, the studio publicly claimed no scenes would be filmed on the monument itself. Secretly, they continued building life-sized replicas inside MGM's soundstage. Even the studio carpenters swore to silence. When the film premiered, the National Park Service sent inspectors to verify that no damage had occurred. They left embarrassed when they realized the entire final act had been shot indoors. The illusion was flawless. Hitchcock didn't climb Mount Rushmore, he outsmarted it. What audiences thought was patriotism under attack was actually movie magic under perfect control. Number 1. When North by Northwest premiered at Chicago's United Artists Theater in 1959, the crowd didn't realize they were watching the birth of the modern action thriller. The pacing, editing, and tone were unlike anything before it. There were no shadows like film noir and no melodrama like spy films of the era. Instead, Hitchcock created a world where charm and danger coexisted in daylight. Cary Grant was not a hero trained for chaos. He was an advertising man forced into survival. That inversion of masculinity shocked critics and inspired a generation of filmmakers from Spielberg to Fincher. It wasn't about spies. It was about identity, disintegrating under pressure. Every chase, every lie, every romantic glance built the blueprint for every action movie that came after. Bonus fact, Hitchcock himself appears in the movie's opening scene, but his cameo hides a dark inside joke. As the credits end, he's seen missing a bus. It lasts only seconds, yet symbolizes the entire movie. The man who orchestrates fate for everyone else becomes the one left behind. Hitchcock later confessed that he chose that cameo because he always felt one step too late in his own life, chasing ideas that moved faster than time. It's his most personal appearance on film. Hidden beneath a comedy of errors lies the truth of an artist haunted by the chaos he created. North by Northwest wasn't just entertainment. It was a reflection of the man who could control everything except chance itself.